Miss Thomas,
Yes.
you're here. You're my first podcast guest in our studio. Thanks for coming. What do you think of the
It's
studio?
fantastic. I love what you've done. I love how it's a nice space for students and for all the audiovisual needs that we have been hoping for. So it's a great space.
Very excited to use it. Again, thank you for being here. I pitched this idea to my students, and they were pretty excited about it. And they helped me come up with some of the questions. And so I was thinking, sort of the first half, we do a regular podcast. Second half is going to be a lightning round. Admittedly, the questions get silly. All right?
Absolutely.
So,
Let's do it.
So the first question that I have is, what brought you to QO? Like, what is the Beth Thomas origin story before QO? Because we all know you as Beth Thomas principal, but what about before then?
Great question. So I was a middle school teacher, assistant principal, principal at Kingsview I taught at Sligo, then I was at Kingsview for 12 years. Then I went to central office and I was a director and was there for 6 years under different organizational structures, different ways. We went from communities to middle school to secondary, then back to middle school, and then there was a reorganization again, and at that time it was a good opportunity for me to decide, what does Beth Thomas want to do with the rest of her life? And granted, I'm fairly young. I know that that's surprising, but I missed being with kids. I missed being around children, and I missed that feeling of making a difference and seeing the impact at a school and engaging with students and staff. And so originally, funny story, I was thinking I was going to, because I had been in middle school my whole life, thought I was going to interview for elementary schools. Because I thought, okay, let's broaden the perspective. You've been middle, why don't you interview for elementary? Because I really never thought I would come to a high school. And engaged in a conversation. Funny story, fun fact is Dr. Elena Murray and I had a conversation, and she said, that I really don't, I'm not sure elementary is your thing. And she said, it's just, I can't see you doing that. It doesn't seem like your vibe. And so I left, and I was like, you know what? I really need to think about this. So talked to a couple people, and I made the decision I was going to interview for a high school. And at the time, there were 3 high school vacancies. And I decided that Quince Orchard really fit my style, what
were your other
passion.
options? This is a hot take. Who else could have had Thomas then?
I also interviewed for Sherwood High School.
Okay.
I did not put in for the third that I will not disclose.
Okay. All right.
It was just not, I can say it. It was Churchill High School. And I wanted a school, I wanted to be in a place that I knew I could make a difference. I wanted to be in a place that had great community involvement, that was on the cusp of moving in either one direction or the other. And I wanted a place where I could see myself and see my children. And what I mean by that is I wanted a school that had a lot of diversity. I wanted a school that had a lot of great traditions, but also was in a space where they were ripe for some new traditions, creativity. And quite honestly, I fell in love. From the moment I learned, I visited, I did my research, I met with students, I met with staff, I met with community, and I knew at that moment that I knew walking into that interview that I was going to get this school. And I don't mean to be cocky, I don't mean to sound like I'm the best, but I felt a good feeling, and I connected with the panel, and it was, I think, the best decision I've ever made professionally.
I mean, I would agree. Things are going good. I'm certainly happy that you're here. To fast forward from that position of interview to, okay, now you're the principal of QO, what was that like? Were you overwhelmed? Were you super excited? Were you like neutral, like I got this? Like what was your mindset like?
It was a little bit of both. I was nervous. I knew what what skills I could bring. I knew that I was an effective communicator. I knew that I understood how to staff and hire and move a school forward in terms of academic performance. What I didn't know is all the complexities that went with it. However, I feel one of my strengths is my resourcefulness and my ability to be vulnerable and take risks and ask the questions that need to be asked. Instead of coming in and feeling, oh, I got this, I asked questions. I listened. I met with people. I created what was called a 90-day plan. And it specifically outlined every single action that I took for the first 90 days, and then I went into 120 days. And I'll never forget my consulting principal at the time, Dr. Frank Stetson, said to me, he said, Beth, don't ever forget, and you have to really absorb this, you are the mayor of Quince Orchard High School. I live in Clarksburg, sorry. You are the mayor of Quince Orchard High School. And until that really sunk in, I don't think I understood the enormity of it. And I just did my best to learn and absorb and surround myself with a phenomenal administrative team, surround myself with a phenomenal leadership team, and then surround myself with amazing teachers. So I take a lot of pride in hiring, and I take a lot of pride in capturing student voice and community voice and staff voice so that whoever we hire is a true representation of what Quince Orchard wants and needs.
Do you recall some of those things that were in the first 90 days or the 120 after that? Like, what were some of those types of items, just to give us like a practical sense of
So specifically, meeting with key people, getting to know, having one-on-one meetings with students, having one-on-one meetings with parents, having one-on-one meetings with the admin team, the leadership team, then bringing people together, and I led focus groups, and I asked what was working well and what would they like to see improved.
So you're taking the temperature.
I was taking a temperature check, and then also making sure that I knew all the different programs, so I would meet with people in central office to learn more about the different curricular pathways that we had here, what courses were being offered. Then I met with, when we met as an ILT, I created a scavenger hunt, and it was twofold. It was for me to learn more about the community and drive around the community, and also to create that sense of team with our leadership team, but for them to also see our community. And so those were some of the purposeful moves. I remember I had meet and greets over the summer with parents, and I remember, the media center was packed. And then I had some in the auditorium, and then I would go into the community. I would go to this local swim team practices and meet parents, meet kids, and just ask them what they loved about Quince Orchard, what made it unique. And then I would walk the businesses. So I went to all the businesses around here to find out what they appreciated, what we could do to partner together, because we're right across the street.
Right, absolutely. Especially at lunch, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
What is something that people misunderstand about being a principal? What are sort of the things we don't see or don't get?
I would say one of the biggest things that I feel people misunderstand is the amount of play calling and dodging and advocacy that has to be done on my part. So, for example, advocating for what our students need, advocating for what our staff needs. Sometimes it takes a long time. And so I may be working behind the scenes, and it may be that it may look like I'm just sitting in my office, but everything that I do, I live by my calendar. If you've not heard about this, I keep my phone, not only because I like to share the good story about our students and staff and our community, but if I need to do something, say for example, I have to follow up with you tomorrow about something, I will literally write a note on my calendar and chalk out time to make sure I follow up. And so everything that I do is purposeful, and I think that there's a perception that principals don't have the pulse of the building, that don't have bigger understanding of what staff and students are going through. And I would like to say that I very much do have a pulse of what's going on.
It sounds like it's a lot, and that we don't always see it. I know that there's times where you're frequently like in your office at night still, or with games or whatever else. Do you ever get frustrated by sort of the things that are controllable by you, by QO, versus like things that are controlled by MCPS, and like how do you sort of deal with those issues as they come up?
So I can't remember at what point we had this conversation with our school leadership team, and we said, what are things that we can control? What's in our locus of control? So, for example, when decisions are made and shared with us, let me give you a tangible example. When the school system decided to close, and I can't remember what day it was
March something, right?
No, I'm saying this year. March,
gotcha.
I'm sorry, this school year. And it happened right in the middle of lunch. I think there was a perception that I had intel prior to. And I will never forget standing there during open lunch, and a senior young lady came up to me and showed me her phone, and she said, "So I can go now?" And I said, "What are you talking about? You can't leave." And she said, "Miss Thomas, they're closing schools." And I took her phone and I looked, and then I looked at my phone, and the message had come through. We literally had to go back in, call people into the school, come up with a plan. And so, I mean, that's one example, but also when, going back to the closure, March 13th, and then the day was, for teachers was the 16th, I think, that there was a plan. I think there was an assumption that there was a plan. And so we, school leaders, we were receiving information and then trying to navigate it. All the while up to that, the admin team would sit, just like everybody else in the state of Maryland, would sit and wait for Hogan to make an announcement.
Right.
And then we have to scurry around and we have to make plans. And it's making sure that we're getting messages out as succinctly and as quickly as we can, but also owning when we make a mistake.
Right.
So when there was a transition to come back the following year, I clearly misunderstood who was coming back first. And I own that. And so when that message came down from central office, I could easily said, "Oh, they confused it, but as I unpacked it, I was the one that was confused." And so, you have to rally and then control what you can, and I had to control what I could at that moment and share as much information.
Yeah, it's I think especially lately probably more scrambling than usual. And that's I think an admin thing, I think it's a teacher thing, I think it's a student thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. To talk about some more fun stuff. Transition here. Smooth transition. What are some of your biggest professional wins? And if you're willing to, some of your biggest professional losses?
I would say some of my biggest professional wins, first of all, was being appointed at principal of West Virginia High School. This has been the most inspirational, what's the word? This job I don't see it as a job. I don't even like to use that word. It's a gift, it's a calling, it's that I get to do this every day. And even when it's hard, and let me tell you, if you follow me on Twitter, you will see there's been highs and lows, and there are days that it's tough. We all go through it, but at the end, I wouldn't give it up for the world. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I'm not just saying that. I walk through the halls, and when things get stressful, and I'm not I have to make a tough decision, you won't find me in my office because I'll be in a classroom. I walk the halls, and I do my best thinking when I'm in front of children. And I'm in front of our staff, and I see the magic happening. And so I think that was my number one. Number two, professional goal, was when I had the opportunity to work in central office. So I was young.
So for students who have no idea what that means, like what do you mean work at central office? You work at QO. What is
So
central?
prior to my my principalship here at Quince Orchard, I was a director in central office, which means I supervised principals. So I was able to see things from a whole different level on how you can help a principal move their school forward and how you can provide support and what support really looks like when a principal in a school is going through, um, having a difficult time, or is trying to transition, or problem solve, what that looks like. And so I was honored to be able to learn from some very amazing people in central office. Um, Now the superintendent in Baltimore County, Dr. Darrell Williams, was my direct supervisor, Dr. Laverne Kimball, like legends, people and students, I know you probably don't know these names, but legends in the school system who taught me what it means to be a good leader. Um, I think another professional goal, quite honestly, is when I earned my master's, I was a health and PE teacher. So I think it's important for students and for everybody to understand, I had to really learn a lot about curriculum and pedagogy in different areas. Because teaching health and PE and being a coach was amazing. I mean, I loved every minute of it. But I had to learn what it means to give feedback and help a teacher grow in a content that I may not be familiar with,
Right.
and help them to be their best. I am very honored. I was humbled and honored to receive the Montgomery County Public Schools nomination for Washington Post Principal of the Year last year. It was shocking. I just had never received something like that. So to be validated for the work that we're doing at Quince Orchard, and to be validated for the impact that I hope I'm having on children and on staff, was humbling.
What about personally? Wins and losses. What are some of those that maybe we don't know?
So personally, I have lost 100 pounds. And it was not, I mean, it was years ago, but it's so.
Health and PE, wellness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I try really hard to stay focused on my health, my mental health and well-being.
I see you drink weird green smoothies all the time. Yeah,
yes.
Okay, all right.
I drink a smoothie every day, and I have run, I've run a couple half marathons, I've run several what they call Ragnar races, and it helped me to realize that you can push yourself, and if you have a goal that you can reach it. So, but probably what I'm most proud of is being the wife of Milton Thomas and having two wonderful children. They are pretty much they're everything to me.
Oh. That's what kind of leads me to my last question. I think this is the same answer, but one of my students asked, with all the craziness and unpredictability in your job, how do you stay grounded?
Every single morning, I wake up and I take 30 minutes, no matter what time I wake up, even if I'm going to have to be late. I take 30 minutes and I focus on my faith, what I believe in. I set my intentions for the day, I ground myself, and then I look at the work ahead of us, because what I found is when I didn't do that, I was frazzled all the time. Mm-hmm. And I try to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. Sometimes it's mostly 6. But I also try to balance it with making time at least one day where I don't connect at work, and that's hard. I'll be very honest. Quince Orchard has a lot of different exciting things going on, and so on Saturdays I'm usually involved with something. But my family has been my rock, and they support me, and so they will say enough. This is, we're going to take some time off, and so that's when you love what you do. And I keep going back to this, when you love what you do, it's not work. And people are going to say that's cliche and whatever, but it is. I mean, I try to go to everything because I enjoy it, not because it's a chaperone duty. I don't have to be there. I want to see our kids. I want to see our staff. and it's fun.
Absolutely. I can relate to the needing family to be like, hey, why don't you take a break, chill out a little bit, and let's go to some Airbnb or something.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Go to the beach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So,
I do travel a lot, by the way.
Got to. I would like to transition next to the lightning round.
Here we go.
Are you ready for the lightning
I
round?
don't know, but I'll get ready. All right, hold on. Do I need to stretch
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
the lightning round?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically the same thing as a Ragnar race.
Okay.
If I give you only easy questions, can I get a raise?
If you give me only easy questions, can you get a raise? That's a no.
Well, can't hit a home run if you don't swing. What's your favorite color?
Yellow.
Why? Did not expect yellow. I was totally thinking black and red.
Of course, I mean, I love
I thought you were
red.
going to be jealous of my microphone.
No.
Okay.
I love red. Okay, so I live in everything. If you,
Yellow.
my whole wardrobe is red.
Yeah.
Red and black. But the color yellow, as a little girl, every time I saw it, my mom would drive me to school, and we would sing a song. The sun had one eye open and one eye shut. And it became this yellow, like it just was the way I started my day with my mom. And so
Aww.
it just, I've always loved that, the color yellow.
Oh, that's cute. This is a tough question.
All right, here we go.
What do you like more, football or girls lacrosse? We were told that those are your favorite.
All right, they are.
sports.
That's but you know what? Softball is
Softball.
and basketball. I love them all.
Right.
Okay, so at my core,
You can't pick.
I can't pick, but I will always be a fan of both. And I love a darn good lacrosse game
Can't win.
with somebody in goal.
Let me give you another one of these kinds of questions. Who's your favorite child?
Oh, here we go. So this is my answer. I have a favorite daughter and I have a favorite son.
Oh,
Yes, you are my favorite daughter. You are my favorite son.
Oh.
That's what I said.
This one, whenever I ask it, derails my class. Is water wet?
Is water wet? It depends on. Is water wet? No, because water,
Woo! That's a hot take.
water, in and of itself, does not cause. You are wet if someone pours water on you.
So perception versus
Yes.
someone in psychology will help me out with that one later.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, all right.
I'm probably all wrong about that.
Here's another one. How many holes does a straw have? Like a drinking straw?
How many holes?
Mhm.
Why are you giving me these questions?
Because it's fun.
Well, I mean, logically, you would say 2. But it
Or is
really
it
doesn't,
one?
it only has 1. I don't know. It has 1 hole. Yes, it has 1 because it's 1 large. It's a cylinder.
You sticking with it?
I'm sticking with it. It's probably wrong.
It's fair. Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs.
That is the correct answer.
Yeah.
For that.
And I have both. We don't have any, but I had both.
You are a wife, a mother, a leader in education, maybe a doctor, not a doctor. I was wondering if you could look at something like I have a mole. You know what?
I'm not a doctor.
I'll just keep ignoring it. It's probably fine. It's probably
Yeah.
fine. Is it true that you like Roberto Clemente more than Quince Orchard High School?
That is not true.
Why are you going there?
I'm going there
Trap
because
question.
It is a trap question. I'm going there because Miss Sahara, who is an amazing, amazing human leader, is in her principal intern program, and she will be taking over. You have to have a 6-week practicum where the intern takes over and runs the school. And so the way that they navigate it in MCPS is the principal who's training. So I'm her principal developer. She's the principal intern. I must leave and go somewhere else when she takes over. And the way the system does it is anybody who's a principal developer, we get shuffled and we go to other schools. And so I decided to go to a middle school.
Gotcha. So you didn't get to pick Roberto Clemente. You just had to pick middle school, and then they placed
No,
you first?
I could pick my top 3 choices
Gotcha.
out of any school that had an intern.
That's cool.
And so I I felt I could be the best service and support in another middle school, because I know I could help at another high school, but then I'd be very torn about my allegiances.
That's fair.
Because I bleed red and black.
You have to. All right, last few questions. These are some of the best ones. We have a crack research team here at QOTV. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I know that.
We were wondering if you could explain this photo.
I can. So I lost a bet. So I didn't lose a bet. Let me clarify. So it was a fundraiser, and we were raising money, and you had to each pedal was an amount of money that was being donated. And my grade level lost. Deb Higdon, who was the former principal at Lakelands, her grade level won. And Mr. Kniper, who's now the current principal, who's in that picture, at Redland, and I both lost. So we had to dress up with all the feathers and walk around the day before Thanksgiving. Wow. Wow.
That's great. I have one more multimedia question for you.
Okay.
Which is, maybe you're aware this exists, maybe not, but I am just curious about what your thoughts are of this. I was on Instagram, and I saw that there is an Instagram account called Mrs. Thomas History, where someone is photoshopping you into famous historical scenes.
I have not seen that.
I was just wondering what you think about this one.
Well, I mean, it could be considered defamation of character.
It could be. It could be a cease and desist situation.
Yes, it could be. And yeah, I have not.
You haven't been in these places? That's not.
No. You know what? I don't think I was there.
No.
I might have been there. Maybe in my dreams or nightmares.
Dreams or nightmares.
Yeah, not sure.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I would like to ask you, who should I interview next?
Can I give you two? Or I have to go one?
I think one.
All right.
And then we'll do another one after that.
I think
if the people want it.
the people want. I think the people need to learn more about Miss Nahara.
Sweet. Do I have to refer to Miss Nahara as Miss Thomas now?
No.
Okay. Cool. Just checking. Thank you very much.
Thanks. That was fun.